Good afternoon to you all. We are excited to have all of you joining us at this COVID-19 webinar. I believe it's going to be an exciting time because we live in an unusual time. Your host this afternoon is myself and Ade. My name is Iyanda. I'm the managing partner of Designthinkers Group. And joining me also this afternoon as panelists, I have Augusta with me. Augusta, could you wave your hand? And also with us this afternoon is Charles. Charles, could you wave your hand? And I also have with us Peter. Peter, could you wave your hand, please? Thank you. We welcome all our participants to this exciting presentation. I want to let you know that we are going to mute all the participants. And if you have any question during this webinar, what we expect of you is to use the Q&A feature in the webinar application. You are going to have access to the recording webinar at the end of this program. We believe you will have it within 24 hours. And that will also include the presentation deck. If you are joining us using your telephone, I ask that you should send me your question through email because you will not be able to use the chat function. The Designthinkers Group, let's just introduce you to Designthinkers Group. The Designthinkers Academy is in 27 countries. And the one hosting us this afternoon is the Designthinkers Group in Nigeria. The panelists have been introduced, but once again, on the screen, you can see who they are. Myself, I'm calling Iyanda. You have Ade. Ade is having some technical issue. Hopefully, he's going to join us very soon. Ade is an expert in business analytics and was with SAP for a long time. Currently, he's a partner and a senior facilitator. Then I have with me Charles. Charles got a PhD in design management, and Charles is our service design lead and the director of innovation for the Designthinkers Group in Nigeria. Yeah, Augusta is one of our partners. She's a social services innovation consultant. She's done a lot of stuff with us in the area of design thinking and human-centered design. Then, of course, I have with us Peter. Peter is a consultant psychiatrist who works at University of Lagos as a lecturer, but beyond that, is also the CEO of Great Cottage Clinic. We all know that we live in an unusual time. I call it an unusual time. We live in a time of crisis, global crisis, where the world is at a standstill. And we call it COVID-19 pandemic. And when you look at COVID-19 currently and what our world is, we believe that there's going to be the issue of emotional distress, anxiety, feeling anxious. Sometimes we're even confused. We don't know what to believe anymore. Sometimes we're even overwhelmed with the kind of information that we have. Yeah. And the issue of disharmony is also there as a result of what somebody is doing and what somebody is not doing. Is it possible for that sometimes we even feel powerless? So when you have crisis creates urgency because we want the issue to be far, to be concluded as soon as possible. We want our life to be back to normal, so we have that sense of urgency. And when you have urgency, you discover that there's anxiety. Anxiety as when will it be over? Anxiety as to will it be my turn? Anxiety as to what next to expect. But where you have anxieties and you have urgency and there is crisis, we believe that crisis also brings opportunity. And what we are looking at this afternoon is actually to look at opportunities. It's actually to see how we can leverage on the current situation so that we can stay strong and we can bounce back in no time. That's the essence of this webinar. And I believe that at the end, all of us will stay strong and we will bounce back. So I want to ask Peter to take over from now, who will tell us about mental health. What is mental health? How can we understand mental health better in this era of pandemic? Peter, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I want to appreciate the participants for joining. And I believe that your understanding this afternoon is very crucial because we are all ambassadors. So that whatever knowledge you have, you'll be able to take it to those who are not participants right now. And just as Kunle has said, it's very important for us to know that we are all ill. I always say that in this period of time, we are all ill. And so I'm thinking of beyond the physical symptoms of COVID-19, we have emotional symptoms. And of course, the next slide we'll be looking at reasons why we have emotional symptoms. Why are we having emotional problems? Why will a nation or why will anyone say, oh, I'm not positive anyway, but at the same time, why should I be ill? This doctor has just told me this afternoon that we are all ill. I'm not ill. Let us look at some reasons. Number one, we are calling this thing pandemic. Here it is. I mean, even though we are saying 276, 280, we don't know where we're going. Everybody is praying, we are hoping. So it's already here with us. We have been asked to stay in. Many of us are not used to staying in. Some of us use the work as an excuse to just escape from toxic relationship, violent partner. Some of us, we are not used to having children around. They have gone to the hostel, but now the house is full. They are eating, dumping the plate. That has created a lot of disequilibrium in your mental state. Many of us have a lot of increased anxiety. When we hear, 145 cases in Lagos, yay, for Imushi, oh my God. All these brings about anxiety. Fear of our loved ones, the loved ones overseas. 935 people died in a day. Oh my God. How will they get all these? Make this coronavirus issue a major problem. And that is why it has impact on our emotional health. What about job security? Oh, maybe when you get back to work, they're going to tell you that you are not needed again. Oh, they've been able to survive without you while you are at home. So we're going to downsize, economic depression. What about the mindset of living survivor that you have to live now? Otherwise, survival of the fittest. Otherwise, you can go, you can die, you can do the sense of hopelessness, job insecurity. All this, when you put together, has made us to know that it is beyond the physical symptoms of, oh, I'm positive, oh, I'm negative, oh, I've not been tested. We are all emotionally susceptible. So let me move to the next slide, which is, we're now looking at what are the major emotional responses, emotional symptoms that people exhibit in times of pandemics, epidemics like this. What are the emotional consequences? The truth is, if we are not made to be aware of these things, they will occur, you will miss the symptoms, and then before you know it, you have major emotional or mental health crisis in our hands. But when we know now, we're able to, stop it right from the beginning. You're able to be your sister's keeper, your brother's keeper, so that when anybody is exhibiting these symptoms, you say, oh. And it also helps us to be able to know what to do. For example, we talk about anxiety. See, the truth is that anxiety is not something we can just play with and, this problem, everybody is anxious. What about anxiety that comes? What about adjustment disorder? Look at the picture. Everybody has, look at the green picture. Then look at the next one, look at the next one. Some of us, we've been used to our green life. Everything is moving on smoothly. You leave home in the morning, you come back. But now, what if you run out of food? What if the market is closed? Everybody has been forced one way or the other to live certain lifestyles. And that adjustment disorder can cause a lot of emotional problems. Adjustment disorder can lead to depression, can lead to anxiety. You can have depressive type, anxiety type, unstable type, and so many things. Loneliness. Many of us, the only place we find solace and cohesiveness is when we go to work, when we go to market, when we go to our religious places. But now we've been asked to have social distance. Many people are lonely at home. And that's why we're saying, you know what? Have social distance, but don't have emotional distance. Learn to call, learn to talk to people. But we need to be aware of this. So you need to, what about a single mother? What about a single father? What about somebody that is a bachelor, a spinster, that is alone in the house now? Everybody, you are watching TV, you are hearing different things. What will happen to my children, my job, fear of being infested. All these things create a lot of anxiety. So it is important for us to be aware of this. Some go into depression. I can tell you, sometimes it's not only when you are affected with something. People are depressed about their businesses, depressed about the fact that they may lose their job, depressed about even family. You hear 276 people died. Don't forget that those 276 did not drop from heaven. They came from a family. They have father, they have mother, they have sisters, they have cousins, they have children. Most of those children are going through depression right away. The fact that it did not affect you does not mean that it has not affected some families. You may say, oh, we are just 276 people affected. Just. But believe that just a single person has more than 50 people that is surrounding or is around that person. So it is important to know that people may go through depression, and that may be a consequence of this COVID-19. Another thing is acute stress disorder. The truth is, acute stress disorder it occurs when your equilibrium is affected. We are all stressed. We are all going through one form of stress or the other, and it can lead to violence. So there's tendency for violence behavior. Because people displace their frustration. There's no money, so people take to the street. There's no money, so the man becomes a beater. The wife becomes a wife beater, a husband beater. And all these things, they accumulate to cause emotional problems. What about post-traumatic stress disorder? It's not only the military that we have it. It has been found that most of the time after epidemics or pandemics of this nature, 3 months, 6 months down the line, people begin to have symptoms. And they need anger management. People are born out. People lose, that sense of, who. They begin to have flashbacks of events. You may think that you are able to stay at home, you are able to laugh, you are able to pass jokes, but there are many people that are not strong to be confined and to be hearing of this horrible news. And the worst is that we don't even know when it will end. People are saying it's going to be 10 million. 5 million, oh, will it stop tomorrow? All this creates panic. And out of panic situations, out of this depression, anxiety, adjustment, acute stress disorder, people may go into substance use. I have had cases of people who have been, weaned out or taken out of substance use. Now they are back. Their parents are calling me, back to injection use, back to nicotine, back to alcoholism, back to, we had of chloroquine, everybody out of panic. Take 10 tablets of chloroquine because they just said, oh, if this is preventing or this is a way for me to get out of this. So these are some of the emotional sequelae. And that's why we say it is beyond the physical symptoms of fever, pneumonia-like symptoms, flu, and cold. No. The emotional symptoms, if they are not even more dangerous, because even though you are not dead, you are alive, but the person becomes totally disabled. So it is important that we are aware of some of these emotional symptoms. Sleep disorder is another thing. I know there are many people who, since this event started, they've been having problems with their sleep. It's either they are not able to sleep on time, or they wake up very early in the morning, or they sleep the intermittent sleep disorder. So all these things is very, very important that we take note of, and we must know how to manage them effectively. Pathological grief, as I said, anticipatory grief, delayed grief, overreacted grief. All these are pathological. They are abnormal. It is normal for us to lose our loved ones, to lose our work, to lose our loved ones, and yet we grieve, and we grieve about it. But in some people, this thing may go beyond because your heart is broken. So many things have been taken away from you. Loss. Some are even anticipating that, oh, will this problem happen? How will I survive and cope? Then many people may come up with psychosomatic disorders. If you look at the image, it's like your brain is telling you your head has problem, your hand has problem, everything. And if you look at the side image, it's like every organ in your body. You do all sorts of tests, and everything is normal. Liver, heart, kidney, bone test, scan, everything. Because you feel heart pain today, tomorrow you feel headache, tomorrow you feel chest pain, tomorrow it is your hand, tomorrow muscles. We call it psychosomatic. You may do all the tests and everything is okay. It is because of the emotional trauma that you are experiencing this period of time. So the question is, what is the way out? As I said, there are so many emotional sequelae, but these are the common ones. And that is why a new approach to solving problems has been brought about. So when you see yourself in the gulf, between one end of the solution to the other, then design thinking comes in. My colleague, Augusta Charles, will also be taking you on solutions to some of these problems. But I will end by saying, please wash your hands, promote public health, make sure you don't smoke, make sure, because smokers and all these things have tendency to have higher death rate when they have these problems. And if you know that you cannot cope, always seek for professional help. Online, there are so many counseling lines that you need to call. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter, for that presentation. Now we are going to take Charles, who will introduce to us the human-centered design. What is human-centered design? How can we use it to help ourselves in this era of pandemic? Thank you, Charles.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. I'm happy to have all of you here. I wanted to talk a little bit about human-centered design for mental health, what it is, and how we can make sense of it going forward to be able to help us in this time of crisis, especially related to mental health. Okay, so let me start with looking at the challenges for mental health. And I think that Dr. Sheun has really run through some of the issues we have related to mental health. But I'm looking from an organizational policy and societal perspective, as well as from a community perspective and individual as well. I think that some of the challenges we have in terms of making sense of what is going on around us will be, one, that people usually can navigate the system. The system will usually set up that will take care of people that are going through stress, disorders and traumas during this time. We can navigate through them. Many of them are old, archaic legacy systems that we can't really be able to use. So that is one of the challenges. Another one is that we are really unwilling to engage with the current system. You know, the government is not open, the government agencies, the policy network are not that much engaged. So we can engage the system because it's an issue that also would be a challenge in terms of what we want to expect. Another one is we are not benefiting from the current system. If you have a system at this moment where you're having challenges and you call a government service or a mental service firm and you are told to fill like 4 pages of form just to be able to have a therapist talk to you at this time, it becomes a very big challenge. And this also applies to individual, like everybody is dealing with the same issue. And we find it hard to be able to have someone to be able to relate with. So that is also a challenge. So these challenges are something that I think that human-centered design can be able to tackle at the community and organizational level, as well as at the individual level. So understanding what it is and how we can make sense of it. So human-centered design is actually like a process, you know, that starts with the people you are trying to create something for. And by going outside there to be able to understand what their actual needs are and actually looking at how you can be able to create solutions that meet those needs in an innovative and creative way. That is what it is. So, you'll be asking yourself, like, why do we have to use human-centered design to be able to address mental health? There are a lot of other ways we could have been able to address it, and some of my colleagues are also coming from that perspective. But we wanted to bring a broader perspective to be able to see what design can contribute, really. Number one is reimagining problems. When you see problems like mental health, it's something that requires a multidisciplinary perspective. You know, for example, you see that the usual process of traditional process of administering care is where you have people go to the hospitals or call to a helpline or a suicide hotline. There are many other ways that we can be able to help people to have something like digital therapeutics, use technology to connect people. So if we are able to use human-centered design, we can begin to reimagine how these problems will be solved and how it could be able to scale it to be able to affect people, not only in the urban areas, but also people that have less access to this kind of services. Another thing will be co-creating solutions. We are always thinking about how do we come together as a community of practice of professionals to be able to co-create solutions, you know, together. And it's very, very important at this time that we begin to look at beyond boundaries to see how we can collaborate with the doctors, with the therapists, with the government, with the policy makers, with the tech guys to be able to create something. That is why human-centered design is a discipline that will be able to bridge every other knowledge, or every other language that each of the disciplines are speaking and bring us all together to be able to work on something. Another one is experimentation. Human-centered design gives us the tools to be able to sit down and be able to experiment on things without, you know, increasing the risk or the cost of administering those things. So you can create low experiments to be able to see how solutions will work out and how it will scale from 1 person to 100 to 1,000 to 1 million or something like that. So these are the reasons why I think human-centered design is really important in these times. So a little bit about the process. So we'll be asking ourselves, like, you know, what it is, how can I be able to do human-centered design and apply it to mental health? Number one is about exploration. Exploration involves a lot of, you know, research, going out there in the field, empathizing with users, citizens, and people about what they do. As it relates to mental health, it means bringing everybody together to understand the different perspectives, the different voices that are involved, from the rural to the urban, to the working class, to the students, to the kids, to the parents, to be able to understand what they bring to the table and how we can be able to understand it. So it's a rigorous process where you have to collect a lot of data, but most importantly, what we are looking for is qualitative data, because we want to understand the reason why people feel the way they feel and the challenges they are feeling. So another one, after the exploration, we're able to go deep down into, after synthesis, if you get a lot of data about what people need and what the other challenges are, it's now time to be able to find solutions that will address those needs. So what we do mainly is to be able to sit down in multiple groups, multidisciplinary in some sense, to be able to think about solutions about how we can address those problems. So we do brainstorming, we do body storming, we do journey map to understand where people are coming from and where they are going and what they want to achieve with their vision in terms of how they want to solve stress, how they want to live their life and their well-being in general. So after the ideation, we're able to come up with a certain amount of ideas. We can begin to vote of which ones will be liable, which ones will be financially viable to be able to implement on a large scale. Then if we are able to select on a particular idea, then the next step will be to start some prototype. So a prototype is you make something and be able to go out and test it with the users, test it with the market, test it with your team. Is this thing going to work? Is it going to work for these people we're going to do it? Is it going to work on a large scale? Is this commercially available to be able to produce? What is the technology that will be required? There's no only way you can answer these questions if you don't build a prototype, from low fidelity prototype to high fidelity prototype. It doesn't mean it might require a tech prototype. It might be just being able to play out a service within your team and see how it works. For example, if you want to design a queuing system in a bank, it may be important to be able to simulate how that particular queuing system will work. So we want to be able to prototype solutions and see whether there are any adverse effects on people's health, adverse effects on people's well-being. So by prototyping, you're able to reduce those risks and see whether this is something that will scale on a large scale. So here, I want to ask, like, how do we now wrap service around people who are in a crisis? I will share a couple of principles that I think will be important going forward. And this applies to also at the organizational, community, and individual level. So each and every one of us can be able to take these ideas and run with it. So one of them will be that I think that care should come to the people and not the other way around. We have a traditional system whereby if you want care, if you want people to address to your mental health or to your health generally, what you do is that you book an appointment, you go to a hospital, you buy a card, or you have some insurance, then you go there. But I think that with the way things are setting up, want to be able to limit the amount of time that people take to go to the hospital. There are people with serious mental health issues, for example, in so we have to start to begin to think design is a good way to brainstorm and take access to these people that are on the fringes of the society. So another principle will be that I think that technology, and how can we achieve that? I think that if we are able to model people's life, if we're able to understand how people relate with the hospital systems, with the care systems, we can be able to build a technology that they will be adapted to. There is no way we can build this. If you start with technology, you will fail. So where do you start? You start with human-centered design. So another one is access plus support services. I think that it is very, very important that we make sure that we have access to people, especially people that are less disadvantaged, people that are living in the rural areas, people that are poor. We give them access, and access could be done easily. It means that we can implement things like rural telephony, telemedicine to be able to reach those people. And people going forward. It's not just about having a therapy session, with your therapist. You have to be able to provide people with ongoing support services, throughout their life. It should be part of the social protection in general. So I want to be able to give you the Australian Centre for Social Innovation implemented human-centered design, and this is one of the best I've ever seen. So they created this service they call is a service whereby families, they have gone through trauma, stress, disorders, bereavement. They are matched with some families that they are recently going through it. So both of them share ideas and they're able to emerge victorious. They're able to learn from each other. So they schedule things like going to the park together, going to the movies. So the children will meet the children of this one. And in a Western society whereby everything is about individual, this is one of the services that connects people. Imagine having to be able to create a service that will help people that are going through bereavement to support them. It will be very expensive for the government to scale it across different regions. So this, in the sense that they apply human-centered design, they understand what it means, and they find ways to be able to connect people that have problems with the people that solve their problems. So the service is like standing alone, and they can support each other going forward. And this service will now be scaled across the country. And is one of service design at the human-centered. So that is an example. So now we have to actually manage COVID-19. Of course, if you're an individual, the information .
Are we having technical issue from Charles?
Yes, maybe doctor should just take over.
Okay.
Charles again.
We just thank you, Charles, for that. I believe we are going to have you back. He has talked about human-centered design or design thinking and how we could apply it to the issue of mental health. I need to let you know that what he talked about is just a bit. He just scratched the surface. He didn't really go through it in depth because we didn't have that time. But Augusta is going to let us know what the role that empathy plays when in the area of emotional well-being of individual. Over to you, Augusta.
Okay, hello everybody. It's so wonderful to have you here. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Empathy is the design driver in all of these things that we're talking about in terms of design thinking and how to move forward in the realm of mental health in these very, very challenging times that we're in. The interesting thing for me is that just in January, I was at Silicon Valley with a group of young people. And the Silicon Valley in California is the center for the home for Google and Facebook. So you're just seeing the overall thing that Charles just tried to talk to us about. So what you're seeing is how empathy fits in as the driver for everything that we have been talking about. So going back to what I was saying about what happened in January. So I was at this place, right there in the midst of technology with, Facebook and Google, and something blew my mind, that was said about the way of the future, that it is not about technology, it is about empathy. It is about structuring around people. And for me, as a human service person, it's like, wow, there is a place for me. So it's not about, the technological advancement of the future, but it's about empathy. And we see that empathy is that virtue, is that skill that helps us to gain a deeper appreciation and understanding of other people's emotional and physical needs, the way they see things, the way they see their world, the way they appreciate them as human beings. And that is very important, that we appreciate people as human beings, not as numbers, not as steps that we climb to get to where we're going, to understand where they are, what they are feeling, and to be able to communicate that feelings that we have understood about them. So talking about, it's literally just stepping into other people's shoes and walking in their own shoes. But there's something that I say recently that, yes, but before you step into other people's shoes, put on your own socks, because it is important that you take care of yourself as well so that you can take care of the other people around you. And in order for us to empathize, there is that situation that I want to bring to us, that forgiveness and vulnerability is very key in being able to move into empathy. Because if we are holding grudges against people, or we don't feel that somebody is deserving of our empathy because they have done something wrong, we're going to withhold it, okay? Especially if we're thinking about how our governments, how they are doing, or leadership. But when we also realize that, okay, forgiveness is being able to waive my right to hurt you for hurting me. We have that right. But being vulnerable means that we also know that even we too, we have our own thing going on. We have our own weaknesses that we need, and that is why that wonderful prayer that we say, forgive us as we forgive others. So when we're able to forgive and also practice being vulnerable, then we're able to move into empathy. So the question now is, what does this have to do with our well-being? what does empathy have to do with our well-being? It's interesting for us to note that all these things that we have talked about, that Peter talked about in terms of anxiety and fear and panic and loneliness and just wondering what is going to happen. I can't go out. I need to get food. I need to work. I'm a daily paid person. What's happening to my children and all of that. This kind of stress that comes from our emotional state actually affects our brains. It affects the neurons in our brains and damages it persistently. And look at this. It's not just about what happens in our brain structure. It is also what happens in our bodies. We feel emotions in our bodies. So that is why some people, when they're feeling angry, they kind of, let's go back to that. Yeah. When some people are feeling angry, they feel a headache. Or when there's fear, they are sweating, you know, it's located in our bodies. For me, when I am scared, the next thing I want to do is go to the toilet, you know. So all these emotions, they are felt in our bodies. And that is why it is important that we are able to know how to maneuver these emotions that we feel in this COVID-19. You know, and the next slide shows us how the progression goes, that empathy moves us to be able to perform acts of kindness. And then when we perform acts of kindness, either at work or in our house, in our neighborhood, it releases some hormones in our bodies. And these hormones literally directly affect our well-being. And with that, I want us to watch this video clip very quickly. It illustrates.
I feel like the world's getting harder. But if we look closer, on the news, on the web, on the street, we're anything but unkind. Every day, we hear new stories of people trying to make the world a better place. And together, we can make the world that little bit kinder for all of us. It all starts with just one person, you. The thing about kindness is that it's just about the only thing in the world that doubles when you share. And it's a fact, backed by science. Studies have shown that if you perform just one random act of kindness a day, you'll not only reduce your stress, anxiety, and depression, but your body is flooded with the same hormones that make you and the person you've helped calmer, healthier, and happier. Serotonin, which heals your wounds, helps you relax and makes you feel good. Endorphins, which reduce pain. And oxytocin, which reduces blood pressure and makes you feel more loving and loved. You'll both be more energized, feel less aches and pains, more confident, and could even live longer. And if other people see you helping someone else, they'll be filled with those same feel-good hormones, meaning they're significantly more likely to pay it forward. Like taking that extra moment to hold the elevator for someone, spotting a coffee for a stranger who's just a few cents short, giving your neighbor a hand with their groceries, even just smiling and meaning it. It doesn't take much, but it can make a huge difference for everyone. Those people you've helped will help other people, and those other people will help even more people. And those random acts of kindness can start a chain reaction that can spread across an entire community, a city, a country, and with enough of us, the world. Now, isn't that the world we all want? And it all starts with one.
And that one is you. That one is me. So as we have seen it, that empathy moves us into spreading good hormones within ourselves that directly affect our well-being. So you may not remember all the endorphin or serotonin, but just know that those acts and empathy actually can be in just the way we talk to people. So even in our homes, as we're all in this lockdown period. Now we have to stay with our teenagers, and there's no school for them to go. There is no work for us to go, and then we come home. No, we are all there. So being empathetic means that rather than be critical about people, you are curious about them. You are asking questions rather than making conclusions. So you are clarifying. So when you see your teenager at home and they're acting in a very funny way, and you ask them, how are you doing? Of course, we know the next answer will be fine. We know what fine can mean. Before you conclude that there they go again, rebellious young people, this nowadays. No, clarify, ask further questions. What are you feeling right now? What is going on in your mind? And connect, let us connect with people before we correct them, before we start pointing things that they're not doing right. And empathy says that you are a person of value to me. So even by our words, by our actions, and that is why we see that emotions are locked in our bodies. Acts of kindness, connecting with people, finding out how they are doing, trying to get their perspectives, non-judgmental, they actually move those emotions around in our body, so they are not stuck in our stomach to cause ulcer or headache, or in our hands to cause diseases. But those actions make us to be well, to have a better state of well-being. I want to share my story. A few years ago, I arrived, into Nigeria, on a flight from the US. And as we were climbing Oshodi, for those of us who are aware of Lagos, as we were climbing Oshodi Bridge, pow, pow, gunshot in the air. The vehicle that was bringing us from Muritala Mohammed Airport was stopped by armed robbers. Hey, and they came, they took my bag, they took my laptop, and as they took my purse, one of them just punched me in my eyes. And it's like, Oga, I didn't do anything to resist you. Anyway, for the next few weeks, each time I close my eyes, I will see the image, and that whole thing will relieve itself. That is what is called a post-traumatic stress situation. So I will even to pray. So one day, as I was praying, and this man's face came to my mind again, and all that bottled up emotions of anger and fear was just ravaging my body. God just told me, that armed robber is somebody's son. I said, That armed robber was dedicated at some time. And I started to think about their lives, and it's like, what could have happened that this person would turn into this kind of lifestyle? And guess what started to happen? All those emotions of anger and resentment and fear just started to go down as I thought about them and what would be going on. The only thing I could do then was to pray for them, because there was no way I would go and ask or find where they were. I just started to pray for them, that God, wherever they are, I don't even know whether they were still alive. But the thing is that I was able to come out of my own confusion and think clearly. The beautiful thing is that because of that singular act of empathy, my brain was clearer to even now think that I had an insurance plan that could actually pay for everything that I had lost. So empathy is the way by which we help people to move from us. It doesn't matter, they may not remember what we have done, what we have said, how we look, but they will never forget how you make them feel. Empathy drives our own well-being and that of others. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Augusta, for that presentation. Now, I want us to know that none of us is an island. Peter, talked about mental health, that we need to, collaborate with others. We need to, and Augusta talks about connect before you correct. Charles also talked about the issue of collaborations, and when he talks about ideation, he said ideation is when you get ideas, from different people, we see what works, what doesn't work. Now, when we talk about I want to talk about stakeholders. Who are our stakeholders? That's what I want to talk about now. And why are they important? Why do we need to be mindful of our stakeholders? Why do we need to know our stakeholders? In design thinking, there is what you call stakeholder map. And stakeholder map enables us to look at our life and say, who are the people that are connected to my life? And those people will either cause you pains or they will cause you gains. They will either lift you up or they will pull you down. When you talk about stakeholder, they either becomes get to where you want to go to, or they could become an obstruction. I decided to look at stakeholder mapping for a family. Let's just say my family, for instance, or your family, for instance, and we are looking at COVID-19 era. At the center of this stakeholder map, if you can see my screen, at the center of this stakeholder map are the people that are more crucial, most important in your life, or in the project you are doing, or in the vision. So for this one, we look at your spouse, your children, your siblings, maybe your in-law. These are people that will have direct impact on you. These are people that currently under lockdown, whether you like it or not, you have to wake up and see them. You have to interact with them. Of course, you can have your friends. What about your neighbors? What about your employer? Or maybe if you're an employer, what about your employees? What about government agencies? If you are from this part of the world, in Africa, where probably public utility is not that great, you know what not having light can, do to you. You know what not having good network could do to you. Assuming as we are talking now, my network decided to go off, I will be frustrated. And how does that affect my emotional, well-being? What about your association, your religion, maybe the religious body, maybe the club that you belong to? Or what about vendors? These are people that are stakeholders in your life. And you have to know the position and the role that each of them play. How could they help your emotional well-being? How could they help your mental well-being? Do we have anyone that you feel, oh, this one will give me negative energy? So if it gives me negative energy, how do I manage it? How do I anticipate? How do I prepare for it? Oh, this one will give me positive energy. Okay, if this one is going to give me positive energy, then I better, embrace this person. I better draw this person closer. I better ensure that I align with this person, because if you have a positive energy, it will boost your mental well-being. It will boost your emotional well-being. That is what stakeholder mapping is all about. And I just wish that each of us at this time, whether you are doing a project or whether you are just looking at your life in this era of COVID-19, whether you are looking at your family, whether you are looking at something that you want to embark upon, you can quickly do a stakeholder mapping. Take this and look at who are the most critical at the center. And the farther they are from the center, the least important they are in respect of that your project or in respect of that your vision. Of course, another thing we also talked about in design thinking is what we call context map. The context map enables us to see the various trends. If you want to have a good mental state, it will be good for you to know the trends. Number one, if you look at the center, we have vision and values. So for this COVID-19, our vision should be being emotionally and mentally stable. And you want to bounce back. All right, so if you look at cultural trends, for instance, we begin to talk about the issue of lockdown, the issue of social distancing. If you come under industry trend, for instance, okay, you are an SME, you have your own business. Now, your business cannot go ahead anymore. Then that want to affect your emotional well-being. It affects your mental state. Then you can also begin to say, okay, well, the recession is just not for me, it's for everybody. So everybody is involved in it. Oh, but there is also an opportunity that they call bailout fund or intervention fund from government. Okay, so when you have that, it enables you to balance between the negative and the positive. When we talk about the customer, we have more of online services. Now, that is the trend that you have. Just last week on CNN, in South Africa, we have virtual safari that people can no longer go for the usual safari, but they can see it, you know, virtually. Then also, in terms of customer development, what about the issue of increased hygiene? That is a positive thing. And when you look at technology trend, we talk about virtual collaboration. Peter said, social distancing does not mean emotional distancing. So even in this era, if you use the design thinking approach, we are saying, you know what, you can collaborate virtually. We also, in terms of the trend, if you are a student and you are, you know, bothered that I'm not in school, but you also know that there is increased online learning like we are doing now. And we also have remote working. These are various opportunities, you know, that we have and that all of us need to leverage on. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being a part of this. I believe we have a question. If you have a question, you post your question using the Q&A feature. But let me quickly run us through the summary. The summary is we are in a time of crisis. The pandemic is real. It will impact on our emotional and mental state. And we have a choice. We have a choice to manage how we react to the current situation. If you react to it positively and you leverage or need to create opportunity for yourself and help the people in your world, then the better. But also if you decide to say, to react to it negatively, it will also impact you negatively. Peter talked about the issue of depression, the issue of anxiety, and what have you. And we have seen that when you use human-centered design, it places the user at the center of the solution. And rather than us looking at things from our own angle all the time, we say, let us look at it from the angle of those who will use our solution. Of course, Augusta talked about empathy, walking in another person's shoe, feel what they feel, see what they see. And the more of that you do, the more it helps your mental state, the more it helps your emotional state. Then we talk about collaborate, and watch for the strength. And in conclusion, we believe together we are stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, please, we can send in our question now if you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kule. So, please send me a question in the Q&A part of your online facility, and I'll read the questions to us, and then probably the person that is most appropriate to answer will take it up among our panelists. So we have a question right away. The first one is from Carol. Carol is asking, what are your thoughts on raising levels of personal health and vitality through nutrients first? The thoughts on raising the level of personal health and vitality through nutrients first. Should I ask Dr. Peter to help us take that?
Yes, okay. Can we all hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Well, the place of nutrition cannot be eradicated when we're talking about health, be it physical health, be it emotional health. When you eat well, you nourish all the systems in the body. That is why we always tell our clients going through emotional illness that they must avoid fasting or food deprivation. Because when you deprive your brain of food, the way your heart, your liver, and everything require blood, require nutrients, so also the brain, being an organ in the same body. So vitality, nutrients. But what I always advise is We are blessed with natural nutrients, which are in our fruits and our vegetables. If we know how to prepare our vegetables without overboiling, overcooking them, all these vitamins A, D, E, K, or the vitamins B and C are available in our fruits. Rather than resort to going to pharmacies to go and be buying organic products, buying vitamin K tablets, vitamin E tablets, if you eat well, you take enough carrots, you take enough fruits, oranges, watermelon, and the likes, you're going to be very, very fine. It's only when you don't know these ones and yet maybe you went for a test and they tell you that you are deficient in certain vitamins and co, then you may give supplements. But let us start by eating well first.
Okay.
Yeah, I would also like to add something to that. In the area of emotional eating, knowing that now that we are home, sometimes because of panic, because of anxiety, we just keep going to the fridge. We just open the fridge, or we just want to snack. It's called emotional eating, which we also want to be aware of. So it's good, like Peter said, to surround yourself with good snacks, okay? So while you are on lockdown, have carrots available. So if you are feeling agitated and you want to reach, instead of reaching out for biscuit or chocolate, okay? Take carrots, already have cucumber chopped around you, so that even if you have to do emotional eating, let it be good thing, not sweet, not chocolate or bread, you know. So it's very, very important that we know about that as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Another question here. Okay, no,
okay.
Question seems to have taken it up.
Okay, there is a question here that says, can you provide some suggestions on how you can incorporate design thinking within your family unit during this COVID-19, including children and teenagers? Charles, do you want to take that?
Suggestions on how you can incorporate design thinking within your family unit.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I think one of the ways we can start to practice design thinking and design consciousness should be like about being very open to be able to crowdsource ideas from within the family unit. So if you want to make a decision about, like, I used to tell people that, you know, design is everything. You know, when you wake up in the morning and want to make a list of your shopping center, you are designing your shopping list. You are designing your wardrobe. You're designing your life. So when we make the conscious decision to be able to, first of all, understand the problems that we have within our life, within our family, then we can be able to call everybody to have a consensus, talk about ideas. Everybody will be able to share his own opinion on what the way going forward. And that could be applied from everything from menu to creating a timetable for who is going to clean the house, or what time people would take to be able to play video games or watch TV. So involving everybody that is involved within the family to be able to relate to issues that are affecting the family. Then another way is by being very open. You know, there are issues we think that are beyond children and adults. I think that in some sense, based on our culture, which is very understandable, but we have to be much more open to kids, for them to be able to understand also at our level what is obtainable. So that will help them to be able to manage expectations, start to become problem solvers at a very tender age. That way they could be able to collaborate across boundaries with other kids that they could see in school or through life. So that is how I think you could be able to do it. If anybody has any other thing to add.
Thank you so much, Charles. Let me also add to it. The beauty of design thinking is that it gives a voice to everybody, everyone that is involved. Now, if I'm using design thinking in my house, for instance, for my family, on anything whatsoever, the first thing in design thinking is define. That's the first step in design thinking, is saying define. So we define the problem. We write the problem down. What problem is it? Is it about schools? Is it about food? Is it about taking care of the house? So we write it out. How might we ensure a well-integrated family, for instance? So we write that down. Then we look at it. Then we interview each other. Somebody, during the empathy, we want to walk in each other's shoes. We interview. We try to understand. We try to see things from another person's perspective. Then after that, we ideate. Let everyone get a sticky note. Give a sticky note to everybody and just tell them, write down your ideas. In design thinking class, we usually will tell them that they should generate like about 5 ideas each. So if you have 5 in your family, that tells you that you are going to have about 25 ideas. Now, that ideas that you have generated, the next thing you guys want to do is to now put them in teams. Look at those ideas, which one are similar, put them in teams, so you have reduced the ideas. Then after that, you now vote. Which one do we think is the most valuable of these ideas? Now, once you chose that, you can prototype it. And after you prototype, do the testing. If it's in the family, you test it. Everybody will contribute and say, okay, well, it will work, it will not work. That's the way I think you can apply design thinking to any family issues. Don't forget that we said design thinking is used to solve complex problems. And complex problem, there is no problem that is complex than human problem. And if you can use it to solve anything in the family, then you can use it to solve anything elsewhere. That is just to add to what Charles have said. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would also like to add to that as well, in the area of receiving ideas. We want to encourage everyone, like Kunle said, the thing about design thinking is everyone has a voice, and that is why we use the model of the sticky note. So even if you don't have the post-it at home, you can just take the paper from the notebook, from the exercise book of the children, and cut it into small pieces. Even your 4-year-old, they may not be able to write, but they can draw. They can draw something, that will represent what they are trying to say and affirm them. So even when an idea looks, let me put quote and unquote, it looks silly, no, don't shoot it down. And that is why we do that yes and strategy, that yes, what you are saying and this one. But by the time you start saying, that one that you are saying, we cannot do that in this era, who is going to go out and do anything when we are on lockdown, okay? Or if the problem is about sharing devices, now everybody is at home and maybe there's only one laptop at home that everybody now needs to rotate around, and maybe some people are feeling that how can we also have the opportunity to do virtual something? So just being able to give everyone a voice and not shutting people down, like I was saying in the empathy area, that we clarify, we ask questions, we enter into their own and value each person in this period. And once everybody feels valued, then they want to be part of the group. Once again, I would not even say physical, I would not say social distance. It is physical distance, but being socially connected, okay? What we're talking about, we don't have to be emotionally disconnected or even socially disconnected. It's all about physical distancing, but while you are inside the house, you are so close there. And implementing all those things that Kunle said, and giving voice and affirming the voice of everybody, even the small 4-year-old, in whatever we're doing.
Thank you so much, Augusta, for that. I believe we do not have any other question. We want to thank each and every one of you who have participated in this. And our next webinar is going to be on the 23rd of April, and we're going to be looking at being gritty, resilience. How can we develop a resilient culture? It's going to be an interesting webinar. our final remarks is to let all of us know that he got the whole world in his hand. There is God who we believe is in charge of our planet. So as a result of that, we just leave you with this popular word. We just say one line, others will say the next line, and just like that. He got the whole world in his hands.
He got the whole world
in his hand.
He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand.
Thank you. We hope to see you again. Thank you for being a part of this. Stay strong. As we all weather this together, we are going to come out strong and we're going to come out better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.